What do you do when the person you once loved stands at your door, demanding pieces of a life you both broke? I stood in my cramped Brooklyn apartment, staring at the suitcase Emma had left behind 6 months ago. It was a relic of our engagement, a time when we dreamed of a shared future until she walked out, chasing a life she thought was bigger than us. Now, jobless and humbled, she was back for her things. But when I opened that suitcase, I found something that changed everything. Emma's knock was sharp, impatient, like she still owned the place. I opened the door to find her standing there, her once vibrant eyes dulled by exhaustion. Her coat was too thin for the November chill, and her hands fidgeted with the strap of a tattered bag. "I just need my stuff, Daniel," she said, avoiding my gaze. "Let's make this quick." I nodded, gesturing to the suitcase by the couch. It was scuffed, the same one she'd packed in a frenzy when she left, claiming I was holding her back from her dreams of becoming an artist. She'd wanted freedom, a life unmoored from our small apartment, and my steady but unremarkable job as a high school teacher. I'd begged her to stay, to build something real together, but she'd called me safe, predictable words that stung more than I'd ever admitted. As she stepped inside, the air grew heavy with unspoken history. The apartment hadn't changed much. Books piled on the coffee table, a half-dead plant she'd once loved. I watched her move toward the suitcase, her steps hesitant, like she was trespassing on her own past. "You didn't throw it out," she said, almost surprised. "I'm not that guy," I replied, my voice tighter than I meant. I wasn't sure if I was angry at her for leaving or at myself for keeping her things, hoping she'd come back. She knelt by the suitcase, her fingers brushing the zipper. I don't know why I stopped her. Maybe it was the way her hands trembled, or the sudden urge to know what she'd left behind. "Let me," I said, crouching beside her. She froze, her breath catching as I opened the suitcase. Inside wasn't just clothes or trinkets. Nestled among her sweaters was a sketchbook I'd never seen. I pulled it out, its pages worn and creased. Emma's hand shot forward, but I was already flipping it open. The drawings were hers, vivid, chaotic, beautiful. Cityscapes bleeding with color, faces etched with raw emotion. But one page stopped me cold, a sketch of me, sitting at our old kitchen table, my head bowed over a stack of papers. The detail was haunting, every line capturing a quiet moment I hadn't known she'd seen. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Give it back," she said, her tone sharp but shaky. She reached for the sketchbook, but I held it out of reach, turning the pages. There were more sketches of me, of us moments I thought she'd forgotten. Our first date at the pier, my hand in hers. The way I laughed when she spilled coffee on her shirt. Each drawing was a memory, a piece of the life she'd walked away from. "You kept these," I said, my throat tight. "Why?" She looked away, her jaw clenched. "It doesn't matter. I just need my stuff, Daniel." "No," I stood, the sketchbook still in my hands. "You don't get to do this. You left, Emma. You said I wasn't enough, that this," I gestured to the apartment, to myself, "wasn't enough. But you kept this. You drew me like I mattered." Her eyes met mine, glistening with unshed tears. "You did matter," she said, her voice breaking. "But I was scared. I thought if I stayed, I'd lose myself. I thought I needed to be someone else, somewhere else." I wanted to be angry, to throw her words back at her, but the sketchbook felt like a confession. "You're not the only one who was scared," I admitted. "I loved you, Emma. I still do. But you broke us." She wiped her eyes, her shoulders slumping. "I know. And I'm sorry. I thought I could make it on my own, but I failed. I lost my job, my art gigs, everything. Coming back here, it's humiliating." The truth hung between us, raw and heavy. I looked at the sketchbook again, at the version of me she'd seen when I hadn't been looking. "You didn't fail," I said softly. "You're still you. The woman who drew fish, still in there." Emma's lips trembled, and for a moment, I thought she'd cry. Instead, she reached for the suitcase, pulling out a small canvas. It was a painting of the Brooklyn Bridge at dusk, its lights glowing against a bruised sky. "This was for you," she said, her voice barely audible. "I never had the courage to give it to you." I took the canvas, my fingers brushing hers. It was beautiful, like her, like the life we could have had. "You don't have to run anymore," I said. "Not from me. Not from yourself." She didn't answer, but she didn't pull away either. We stood there, surrounded by the pieces of our past, and I realized something. Love doesn't vanish when trust breaks. It lingers, waiting for a moment like these a moment to rebuild. I didn't know if we could, but as I handed her the sketchbook, I felt something shift. Maybe the truth wasn't just in the suitcase. Maybe it was in us, waiting to be spoken.